Hi everyone, it's Bethany, and in this tutorial we are going to be making some sweet little teacher gifts because it is actually Teacher Appreciation Week. So we are going to make some sweet little gifts for our teachers to drop off at their homes since we won't be seeing them for the rest of the year since we're all being safe at home. And I thought this would be a really fun tutorial because this is going to be a tutorial about how you can use multiple sheets of vinyl to create a really colorful look. So we are actually going to be using 5 different colors of vinyl. I actually changed my mind at the last minute. I was going to do a cute little teacher quote, and then I found a design in Design Space that I just could not resist and completely changed my mind, and I think this is going to be so pretty and so fun to do. So what we're going to do is I'm going to first and foremost just let you know all the materials you're going to need, and then we will measure our design so that we can get everything appropriately sized for these pretty tumblers. So we're actually going to make 2 really nice little tumblers for the teachers. I'll link these. I have made these twice before. I love these tumblers. They are a skinny tumbler. They are the perfect size. I've made them for Bible study and for gifts, and they are just really, really, really sweet. So I will link these below. I'm going to be making 2 different tumblers for the 2 teachers in our lives. We're going to be using a scraper tool, weeding tool, and scissors as some tools that are going to be very handy. Some transfer tape is going to be needed for this as well. And then we're going to be using 5 different colors. So I can't remember where this really pretty white shimmer vinyl comes from, but the rest of the vinyl that I'm using is Oracle 651. So this is all a permanent vinyl. Let me double check, but I think I double checked and it was. So when you're doing drinkware, this one should be too. When you're doing drinkware, I recommend doing a permanent vinyl over a removable vinyl, just because this is something that will come into contact with liquids and water, so it's just a little bit better to have something more permanent on it. So this last one is actually a Cricut permanent vinyl. So other than that, you guys are all set. So you'll just pick your vinyl colors. I was lucky enough to have the colors that I needed for this project, so that was really helpful. And then what I'm going to do is just measure out my cups and we will get started. So I'm going to grab my measuring tape and I'm going to keep my design around 3.5 inches. So my design is going to be about, let's do 3. Let's do 3 inches. So what I focus on is my design is actually going to be somewhat square in nature. So I like to make sure that it looks visually pleasing. So 3 inches going down is going to be just fine. But also, when you're working on a cup, it's nice to have your design small enough that when you're looking at it, you're not having to rotate your mug back and forth to see the entire design. So 3 inches when I'm looking at it allows me to see the entire design without having to, get it rotated to read the whole thing. So let's go ahead and pop into Design Space. We're going to keep our design no bigger than 3 inches, and we will get the little idea introduced to you guys, and then we'll get everything cut out. So this is going to be really fun. We're going to be using multiple cuts. So also, before I forget, we're also going to use our little Cricut Joy mat with our Joy today because we're not using smart materials. So if you do have a Cricut Joy and you do have vinyl that is not smart vinyl, just grab your mat because you can still use it. All right, let's hop into Cricut Design Space and we will get designing and then get cutting. This is gonna be fun.
Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space, and we are going to be using this really pretty pencil wreath. So this is a Cricut Design Space image. You can find it by clicking the images button over here. I just typed in pencils to the search engine, and then it is in here somewhere. I think it's down towards the bottom. They also have a border too, so that's really fun too if you're working on something different. So I went ahead and inserted those images, or that image, and then what I'm going to do first and foremost is I am going to size this down to 3 inches. So again, this is very square in nature, so I am going to go to my height and just type in 3 inches. Whoops, whoa, 3 inches. 3, There we go. And that is the size. The other, the width is going to be 3.029. So it's basically a square in nature. So that is going to be just right. Let me size that up for you guys. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over to the layers panel, and up here in that third little button is duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate this because I'm making two separate cups today. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the teacher initials to the front. So I'm going to go to my text box, and the first initial is a K, and I'm going to add another text box, and the second initial is a J, and those are just our teacher's first name initials. So then I'm going to go ahead and grab the first one, come up to fonts, and I'm going to search fonts. It's one of my favorites to use, and I'm going to use Kate's ABCs, and I'll just drag this up. Okay. And I actually only need a single layer on this, so I'm just going to delete this one layer. Perfect. And then I'm going to make this white because this is going to be that shimmer vinyl that we're going to use. And then I'm going to put the J right here on the second one, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do Kate's ABCs as well. That's so cute. And I'll size that up as well. Perfect. Now you don't need to worry about getting this centered because you are going to be cutting all these little pieces separately since they're going to be separate colors. So just place it in there for visual purposes, but you don't need to worry about having it perfect. And then I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to delete that second layer. We're just going to use a single layer and then come up here and make that white. Okay, so right now this has several colors, and I love all the colors, but instead of using a black vinyl for the tip, I'm going to use a gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Color Sync. So I'm just going to click that, and I'm going to grab those little black little pencil tips, and I'm just going to drag them up to the gray. That way they are gray as well, and it'll show that it does that. And I can do that on my second one as well, and just grab the black layer and drag it up to the gray. Okay, and I think as far as everything else is concerned, that looks really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click Make It. Okay, and so now it's going to tell me that we are going to do without, oh, you know what? Let me change my mind for a second. I am going to, now that I see how this is placed on here, I am going to take the, let's see, the pencil tip layer. Let me see here. I want to double check that I do this just right. I want to take the little gray layers and I want to weld them together because those might as well cut out exactly the same so that they're all lined up. So let me grab those really quick. I'm going to grab the little metal pieces. I guess those are the metal pieces of the pencil and the pencil tips. So I'm going to grab those in my layers panel, grab both of those, click, click, and I am going to say weld. Okay, and I'm going to do that over here too. So I'm going to grab the metal layer, and I'm going to grab the little pencil tips, and I'm going to weld those together. Because since they are the same color, they might as well print exactly in their places so that I don't have to go and realign those. Okay, so now I can click Make It. And ooh, goodness, see, it's early in the morning, so I can do it a couple other times. I can do the, oh, they're already welded together. Okay, so this layer, the pink hearts and the pink erasers are already welded together. Okay, so we are all good. Okay, so now we can click Make It. Okay, we're going to tell it that we are going to do on the mat because we are going to be using materials that are not smart materials. So it says for any material. So we'll click Done. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to review our artwork. I'm just going to pull this out a little bit because I want to give myself a little bit of room in between. Let's go ahead and check the next one. See how now they, the little pencil tips and the little metal pieces are all cutting together and they're welded together. So that's easy. That saves us that saves us a lot of work when we go to apply it onto the cup. And then let's check our little pencil parts. Those look good. Okay, and then I'm just dragging these a little bit because I feel like they are just a tad too close to one another. Okay, these are the little pencil pieces and then the hearts and erasers. And we're all set. Okay, so everything looks great. We can go ahead and click continue. And then what we're going to do is for this first one, I am going to browse all materials because this is that shimmer vinyl. So let me look through vinyl here. And I'm going to do, let's see here. I'm going to do premium vinyl frosted glitter for this first one. And then what I'm going to do is once the other pieces start to cut out, I will come back in and I will say, let's see, I think I'll just say premium vinyl for my setting for the rest of them. So premium vinyl frosted glitter for that white one because it is a glittery, shimmery vinyl. And then premium vinyl regular setting for all of the other pieces that are the either the premium vinyl or the Oracle 651. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click done. And then what I'll do is I will go ahead and it's going to call for my white shimmer vinyl first. I'm going to go ahead and add that to my mat first and put that through. Then I'll come back in and change my settings again just to premium vinyl, and I will come back and then put all the rest of these through. All right, let's get cutting.
Okay, so what I did was I just trimmed down all my pieces with my paper slicer, and I thought that would be easiest just to get everything all prepped ahead of time. And then what I did is I put them in order by how Design Space is going to call them to be placed on the mat. So I just looked into Design Space and it showed me which colors were going to be going in what order, and I just placed them in there. That way I can just quickly keep putting them on the mat and putting them through the machine. So now I'm just going to go ahead and grab my little Joy, and I can't help but think how cute it is every time I use it. I just think it's so sweet and cute. I love this little machine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this little glittery, shimmery piece first, and this is going to be for our, I like to do the inches side for some reason just to double check my sizes. This is going to be for the little initials, so this will be really fun. So I'm going to use my scraper tool and just make sure it's really, really flat on the mat, and then I'm going to auto load it, and this first one will get cutting. And what I'll do is I will go ahead and I'm going to use default pressure and then just click go, and I'm going to use default pressure for every piece that I'm doing. So that's going to go ahead and cut really quick, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my little vinyl bye-bye bin is ready. This is my little scrap bin. I like to keep it handy when I'm weeding. So I'm going to go ahead and to save time, I will just be weeding as I load materials in. So this one is already done, so I'm going to unload it. And then remember what I'm going to do is I am going to go back into Design Space, and I am going to tell Design Space that I want it to just use the premium vinyl setting for the remainder of the materials. Okay, so the new setting is in Design Space. I'm just going to take this little piece off, and I will go ahead and add the gray to the mat because it's going to call for this little gray piece next. This is the only one that's a Cricut premium vinyl. So I'm going to just get that scraped down and then placed into the Joy, and this will get cutting. So this one is those little metal pieces and the pencil tips. I'm really excited to see how all of this turns out. It's going to be so pretty. Okay, and then click go. So then what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and just start weeding my pieces. So this first one is going to be a little tricky for you to see because of the color of the material and the backer, but I'm going to cut off any scraps that I have. You want to make sure you cut off your scraps before you start weeding, because once you weed the material and once you weed the vinyl away from the carrier sheet, it's already done. You can't put it back through the machine. Whoops, that one wanted to come right up, didn't it? Okay, let me see. Let me start this way. Okay. If you guys remember, I used this shimmer vinyl on a little wine glass project I did last week. I'll link it up here. It turned out so pretty, and I ended up using my wine glass and really enjoyed how shimmery that vinyl was and how pretty it was. So when I decided to do these little gifts, I thought we definitely need to do this little shimmer vinyl. It just adds a little bit of fun to it. Okay, so that first one is done. Okay, and we'll unload. So this part of the crafting process is literally just going to be lather, rinse, repeat, and we're going to just continue to load and cut and weed. Okay, so one thing I want to mention is if you remember in Design Space, there's a lot of extra vinyl in the middle of the little wreaths. So what you can do is you can take your True Control knife. Again, you'll do this before you start weeding. And you can just kind of cut out any of that extra vinyl that you want. And I was going to try to do it in a circle, but this might be a little tricky, so you could kind of just do it in any shape that you'd like, just to kind of preserve some of that vinyl and reuse it for another project. So I'm just going to cut out my middles, because this is a decent size. That's about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, so I could use that for something else. That way we don't waste all of it. Okay, so the pieces are pretty small, so you want to make sure, I like to use my little scraper tool just to make sure everything is really down before weeding, and then pull at an angle and just kind of use your weeding tool to help nudge little pieces along as you need to. But it's looking really, really cute. This one is the erasers and the hearts. Oops, one just flung off there. Okay, so before I do the vinyl, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and I'm just going to prep the surface just to make sure it's nice and clean and free from any oils and gunk that could be on the glass. Or I guess it's not glass, but on the cup. So let me do that really quick and we'll let that dry. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to separate all of those little pieces and get them ready to go on each cup. So that's all good to go. We'll just set one of these aside to dry. Okay, so now what we'll do, make sure I got all even the sides of that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to take these little pieces and just separate them. So for weeding, this was pretty good. At some points it got tricky. It's a little bit of a small design, but I just would recommend you just really, scrape it down before you start pulling it up. It's the smaller ones, like the little, not the erasers, but the little pencil tips that were a little bit crazy to do. But the other pieces were pretty good. Okay, so now we have them in 2 separate piles. Let's get our little initials in each pile here, and we can get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I am going to start with my pencils. So I think that's going to be the easiest because it's kind of the most prominent and big piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my transfer tape here, and what I'll do is I will just lay this nicely over my pencils here. Okay. And then I can just cut around the sides. Okay. So now I'm going to take my scraper tool and I'm just going to really press down on all those little pieces. So the transfer tape is going to bring the vinyl up off of that carrier sheet that it was cut on, and it will take it off and get it ready to be placed onto the cup. So I'm going to flip it over and do the same on this side. Just like that. And then while it's face down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull at an angle, leaving the little pencil pieces on the transfer tape, just like that. Just going nice and slow. Okay. So now you can throw this piece away. You don't need it anymore. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my cup and I am going to carefully just kind of get it centered where I'd like it. Whoa! Goodness, that wants to stay there. That's why you gotta be careful, because if it even clings to it, it's gonna wanna, you know what, is that a good spot for it? It's gonna have to be. Okay, it decided, and I'm going with it. That's completely fine. It's a circle, and it just needs to be centered somewhat. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape that down. Okay, and then I can pull, leaving that little circle piece of little pencils right on there. Oh, it looks really good too. How sweet. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll just decide, I think I can use my transfer tape one more time. These pieces are pretty small, so I don't want to use it a ton because I want to make sure that since the pieces are so small that I have really nice grippy transfer tape, but we can do it one more time and save some material. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the little hearts and erasers, and again, scrape down here. And flip over, scrape down. Okay, and then peel up. Okay, perfect. So now I will just line up my little, okay, so this is going to go right on those little erasers. So just line up one really well, and the rest should fall as they should. So on video, it's hard to see, but in person, it's a little bit easier to line up those little pieces, and to see through the transfer tape, because while it is not clear, you can see. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and lay that piece down and just kind of rub it with my fingers first, and then with my scraper tool. Okay. And then peeling up, and we have the little erasers and the hearts down. How cute. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm just going to cut off my extra there, and we'll save that for another little project. Okay. And then just scrape down with my little squeegee here. So one thing about the Oracle vinyl is that it peels up off of the carrier sheet with the transfer tape really, really nice. So it's just really nice to work with. I love it. Okay, so now I'm just going to do the same thing and just start lining up those little pencil pieces. Okay. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of rub those little pieces down, and then I can kind of do more of a focused press down just on those little brown pieces. And then pull my transfer tape up. This is looking so cute. Oh my gosh. How cute. It just keeps getting better and better with each little layer. Okay, so now let me grab, I'll do the little K with this transfer tape because it's still got some stick to it. And I really want some really nice brand new transfer tape for the little pencil, like the tiny pencil tips, because those are the smallest pieces. So I find that getting the best brand new transfer tape out for that. Just a fresh sheet is really helpful because you just want to make sure it really sticks there. Okay, so then we're just going to center the K right in the center here. Okay. Turn this around. Get this as centered as we can. Looks great. And then press and scrape. So using multiple layers of vinyl is just more steps, but they're repetitive steps. So you just kind of got to get in your groove and then just keep going. And there is the K. How cute is that? I love the pop of white in the middle there. Okay, so now let me go ahead, grab a fresh little piece of the transfer tape. So all the other layers were able to use we were able to do 2 layers per one piece of transfer tape, which was nice because we were able to save some material for sure. But for this tiny little one, we're definitely going to grab a new piece. Okay, flip over and do the same. Really focused, press down on there. Okay, and then if you need your, oh, that's coming off really nice. Okay, I was going to say, if you need your little weeding tool, then keep that handy as well. That came off perfectly. Okay, so now this little piece, oh, these are going between the pencil. Probably should have done this earlier in the steps. These are going between the pencil and the eraser. So maybe do this one before. That's why I do the tutorial, so that you can do it easier the next time. But it's going perfectly. Ooh, little tiny prayers during craft time can make a world of difference. It worked. Okay, so the reason I was breathing a little bit is because this little, you'll see in a second, the little gray piece went right between 2 pieces of vinyl, so that could have gotten a little hairy there, but it went down perfect. So I would probably do the yellow pencil, then the gray piece, and then the pink. That would probably be easier. Okay. But I think it worked great. Oh, they look cute. So cute. Okay. It's on there. They're all down. Okay, so there we go. They're all on there. The little gray pieces are right between those little yellow pencil pieces and the little erasers. They look awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on the second one. Okay, so here's the final look. I think they look really, really sweet. So the only tips that I really have for this now that I have finished is that a clear transfer tape would be really, really nice and helpful if you just find that masking transfer tape is not quite see-through enough for you. So that will be helpful. And then just make sure that you are using the stickiest parts that you can. So when you're reusing your transfer tape, make sure that you're only reusing it on the pieces that are bigger, but I would recommend that those smaller pieces get a fresh piece, just because that nice fresh stick really, really helps get those little pieces up off that transfer tape and then onto the little cups. So these turned out really sweet, and I can't wait to surprise the teachers with them. I think they're going to really love them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys are all staying safe and healthy. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial and you found this fun, again, we used 5 different colors of vinyl, so that was really fun. Please make sure you give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. What are you guys doing? How are you guys holding up? What are you crafting? Just pop in and say hi, whatever you would like. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next video.